Hello, my name is Mike Edley, and this is my video for the senior creative writing submission. Today I'm going to be reading from a piece that I started during NaNoWriMo last semester. It is a piece that I have actually continued to write. It is my intent to possibly turn this into either a short story or into a novel. Essentially, this story stemmed from an assignment that I was doing for Dr. Plate's world building class last semester, where we were contemplating the idea of ESP, being able to understand people's thoughts, and but not just understanding people's thoughts, but how it actually would look on paper, how to write down the process rather than just having the person, know what they're thinking, but actually being able to understand the aesthetics with it. And I came up with this idea of kind of a science fiction story mixed with a Western, kind of in the same vein as Cowboys and Aliens, if you've ever read that graphic novel or seen the movie with Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig. It kind of stemmed from that. Part of it also kind of stemmed from The Mandalorian a little bit. The idea of, kind of like I don't know if you want to call him a space cowboy, but kind of like a bounty hunter that goes through different galaxies and dimensions on a mission. But I would think this originally stemmed from my love of Westerns, but I would say specific Westerns. The very first Western I was really interested in was a movie. It's actually a mini-series. It's about 6 hours long, called Lonesome Dove, and it starred Tommy Lee Jones and Robert Duvall. It was also I believe, a Pulitzer Prize-winning book by Larry McMurtry. So my love of cowboys and Westerns really stemmed from that. So I always wanted to write some form of a Western, but I wanted to do it in a way that had never been done before or never been seen before. So that was part where this stemmed from. But another part it stemmed from was my love of time travel. My first experience with understanding and enjoying time travel, like most people, was from Back to the Future. My most recent experience with time travel was from Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet, which I thought was a really interesting and fresh new take on time travel. So that's kind of where I wanted to also do something that involved time travel in a way that nobody had ever seen or read before. So with my love of Westerns and my love of time travel, I decided to kind of combine those two together for this story. So without further ado, I'm going to read this story. The title is called 11 Bullets, and it starts in 1870. The Montana sky was as bright and as big as the eye could see. There was no other place in the country that was as beautiful. The big cumulonimbus clouds floated by slowly, not in a hurry to get anywhere. If one stood still enough, they could see them moving slightly, but not enough to start a fuss. The cowboy stood next to his horse Thunder and admired the sky and the beautiful expanse of the terrain. He had been to other parts of the country, but nothing compared to the big sky of Montana. As he started to groom the black hair on Thunder's mane, he put his right hand on the butt of his Taylor's Remington 1875 that sat in the brown leather holster he had bought at the general store in the town of Providence just the day before. The Remington had a matching twin that sat in a matching holster on his left hip, attached to a brown leather belt which was passed down to him by his father. He stood on a pair of brown and black boots, which were both accompanied with spurs on the heels. He refused to use the spurs on Thunder, seeing that a horse deserved as much respect as a person did. He was all right with riding him because, after all, he had to get places, but putting the spurs to him was where he drew the line. Thunder was a beautiful brown and white Spanish Mustang that he had acquired from an Indian who had tried to kill him. He thinks maybe the Indian might have got it by scalping a Spaniard, so the cowboy, in taking the horse, felt it wasn't stealing if it didn't belong to the Indian in the first place. The Indian was probably treating it bad, or was going to sell it anyway, so he was doing the horse a favor by taking him and killing the Indian. Thunder had the most beautiful array of colors to him. He was mostly brown, but on the flat part of his nose was all white and parts of his neck. All 4 of his socks were white, as well as brown shoes to go with it. His tail and mane were the same color, light enough to be brown, but looked black at night. "It sure is beautiful, isn't it, Thunder?" Thunder made a sound as if to agree with him. "A man could just stay out here forever, you know. Unfortunately, man has responsibilities also." The cowboy had recently taken a bounty on a man that escaped Pinkerton custody on the way to Montana State Prison, also known as the Old Prison. Apparently he slipped his restraints and jumped the train. Seeing as the cowboy has a past as an outlaw and spent the latter half of his life as a sheriff's deputy, they thought he was the perfect man for the job. "Well, Thunder, I guess we better pack up and move along. This guy ain't going to turn himself in now, is he?" Thunder made another noise of approval and added a nod of his head this time. As they both turned around, they heard a gunshot in the direction they were both just looking. When they looked in the direction of the noise, they had to squint to see what it was. "That look like a runaway carriage to you?" Thunder stomped his feet in anticipation. "Yeah, we better help. After all, might be something in it for us." The cowboy jumped on Thunder as fast as he could and rode down the hill, leaving their stuff unpacked. The closer they got to the carriage, the more he realized the carriage wasn't a runaway, but was actually being chased by bandits on horseback. The cowboy counted 5 outlaws as he pulled his Colt Walker 1847 from the saddle holster. He already knew it was loaded because he double-checked it last night before going to sleep. But he pulled out the sight because he knew he'd need that if he was going to take on 5 of them. He decided to stop Thunder over by a bunch of trees that he could use as cover. He went up to Thunder and pulled gently on his left ear, which Thunder knew to lay on his left side. He then lay down so that the cowboy could use his side as leverage for his gun. The cowboy didn't like to put Thunder through this because he always thought it was uncomfortable for her, but they've done it enough times that she's gotten used to it. As the cowboy aimed his Colt, he made sure to aim for the neck, because past experience taught him that kind of shot does the most damage. He breathed in and out, and in and out, and then shot 5 times. 5 shots were all he needed. He rubbed Thunder on his belly. Good girl. Then he patted her twice, which was her cue to get back up. The cowboy mounted Thunder, and they rode as fast as they could to get to the carriage so they could tell whoever was driving that they could stop and that they weren't in any danger anymore. Just as they were about less than a mile behind them, the carriage just completely disappeared. It was almost as if a door had been opened in the sky and they drove through and the door closed behind them. They were nowhere in sight, completely gone. The cowboy was completely and utterly astonished by this. He had never seen anything come close to this in his time on this earth. What the hell? Did you see that girl? Where do you suppose they went? A grunt from Thunder signified that she was confused as well. After looking at the empty space for about 2 minutes, where the carriage had disappeared, the cowboy decided to check on the outlaws he had just killed to see if they had anything of value. The cowboy jumped down and started to rummage through the pockets of the first outlaw. Some coins, a handkerchief, and some spare bullets was all that he had on him. Nothing of any substance, really. The next three guys had basically the same contents, but the last guy was interesting because he didn't really seem like an outlaw. He was dressed differently than the other guys, and he had all sorts of things in his pocket he'd never seen before. He had a knife with the initials JB on it, and it looked like the knife folded in on itself. The cowboy was pretty handy with a knife, and he thought he knew quite a lot of knives, but never saw one that did that before. He also thought he knew most of the outlaws around these parts, but he didn't recognize the initial JB belonging to anybody. He thought maybe he might have stole it off of somebody with those initials, or maybe it belonged to a relative who passed it down to him. The second thing he found in his pocket was a gold pocket watch. Now, he'd seen a lot of pocket watches in his day, but he'd never seen one quite like this. Now, the cowboy wasn't the smartest gun in the arsenal. After all, he was an outlaw once upon a time, but he was smart enough to shoot a gun and know what a clock looks like and how to tell time. What he knew for sure was that this pocket watch was not a normal pocket watch, because he couldn't tell the time by looking at it. Not really. It had the normal things you see on a watch, like a wind-up button and another button to start the watch. But what was most unusual about it was that in place of where you would find numbers were 12 different colors. Colors? Why colors? Thought the cowboy. The other odd thing was that there was no second hand, just the one hand. Now, how was someone supposed to tell the time with colors and no second hand? The cowboy put it out of his mind and put the watch in his pocket. He was about to get back onto Thunder when he noticed that the man had been holding something in his hand before he died. The cowboy opened his hand, and out fell what looked like 11 different colored bullets. Now, this was very odd indeed. The cowboy, of course, because of his past, had seen lots of different sizes and shapes of bullets over the years, but he had never seen any bullets have different colors. He especially had never seen 11 different colors. 11? Why 11? As he looked at the colors of the bullets and counted them again and thought about this, he subconsciously put his hand back in his pocket and pulled the pocket watch back out and noticed that all 12 colors matched all 11 bullets. And the one color that the watch was pointed to was the one color that was missing. Now we jump to the year 2020. Charles woke up at about 6 a.m. to start the day. He leaned over to see his wife Anne still sleeping. He loved to watch her sleep early in the morning. She always thought it was creepy when he did that, but he didn't understand why. She always looked so peaceful and beautiful when she slept. Watching her sleep always reminded him of her innocence and what she was like when they first met. It was such a long time ago, but it felt like yesterday. He was a sophomore at Lindenwood University, studying molecular biology, and she had just come in as a freshman. She had been accepted on a volleyball scholarship, but wasn't sure if that was the career path she wanted. She had played volleyball ever since she was in middle school, and it was really the only thing that she knew how to do or was any good at. Her freshman year at Lindenwood, she had been taking biology, English, Spanish, algebra, and history. She was okay at all of them except biology. Growing up, she loved science, especially in 7th grade, when she started learning how to balance chemicals. But then from 8th grade through high school, she really struggled. She couldn't understand how her love of science had grown into a loathing or even a hate for it. She looked back and remembered how much fun she had learning how to balance chemical equations. It felt like a puzzle to her. She remembered a moment in that year of school when she really thought she wanted this to be her career path. She felt a happiness and safety she had never felt. She wished she could find something that could give her that feeling again. About the middle of the semester, after seeing her midterm grades, she realized she was going to need a tutor if she was ever going to pass this biology class. So she went to the science building and found a list of tutors posted to a bulletin board inside the front door. She took a picture of the sheet and started calling people. The first few people she talked to were okay candidates, but she felt they were kind of rude and that they felt tutoring her would come as an inconvenience to her. She got to the last name and just prayed that he was going to be a good one. Hi, my name is Anne, and I'm looking for a tutor for biology. Sure, yeah, definitely. I'd be more than happy to tutor you. Is there something in biology that you need help with? All of it. She laughed. I just saw my midterm grade and decided if I'm going to pass, I'm really going to need some help. Hey, I can understand that. Between you and me, I just got a tutor for history because I suck at that. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Well, I usually tutor people on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, what's your schedule like? Well, I could do Monday at 2 p.m. I'm done with class for the day after that. Would that be all right? Sounds perfect. I'll see you at 2 on Monday. Oh, my name is Charles, by the way. Hi, Charles. It's nice to meet you. See you on Monday. Bye. She had a really good feeling about Charles. Not just about the biology, but she felt like he was a great guy, too. For the next few weeks, Anne worked side by side with Charles learning biology. She had never knew that biology could be so fun and interesting, and not just because Charles was really cute, too. She learned about animal and plant cells and how things move through the body. She had found a new growing interest in something. She still struggled a little at first, but the more she studied with him, the better she understood it and the better grades she got on tests. Slowly but surely, her grade started to climb, and by the end of the semester, she had pulled off a 95% in the class. Her professor actually emailed her and said it was the greatest comeback she'd seen in one of her classes in a really long time. She was very proud of herself for accomplishing it, but she couldn't have done it without Charles. She decided she was going to call him one more time to thank him for everything. Hey Charles, it's Anne. I wanted to call and tell you that I got a 95 in biology, and I couldn't have done it without you, and I just wanted to thank you again. Hey, no problem. It was all you, though. You put in the work, and you're the one that got the grade. I just gave you a little boost. It's really great that you got such a great grade. Yeah, I know, right? My professor actually said it was the greatest comeback she's ever seen. She did? That's so awesome. You're like a real living Rocky or something. Minus all the bruises, of course. I don't know. There were a few bumps and bruises along the way, I thought. Yeah, but that didn't stop you. And that's what makes you so great. You're unstoppable. Actually, I'm glad you called because there's something I was wanting to ask you. Yeah, what's that? Well, I love tutoring you and I love spending time with you, and I was hoping we could continue to spend more time with each other. Charles, are you asking me out? Maybe? Yeah? Kinda, sorta? Yes, I am. Well, then I accept. Really? Oh, that's great. Well, uh, I saw that Clueless was playing at a local theater this weekend, and I know how much you love that movie, so I thought I could take you. You could go with me? We could go? What do you say? I love Clueless. It's a date. Awesome. I'll pick you up around 7 on Friday. Can't wait. See you then. Bye. Staring at Anne now, Charles was still amazed how unstoppable she is. Not only did she get a 95 in her biology class, but she went on to major in biology. She got on the dean's list every semester, and she became valedictorian of her class. Charles wondered what would have happened if she never called him for help. And if he remembers correctly, he was the last name on the tutor list. What was wrong with all the other people on the list? Or did she pick one at random? To this day, she won't tell me. Are you staring at me again? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I was staring out the window at the beautiful sunrise. The sunrise, huh? You do know the sunrise isn't until 6:59, right? Oh, really? Is that right? Smarty pants? I am a smarty pants. And I'm a smarty pants because of you. Well, I am pretty smart, she hit him jokingly. You know, there's only one way I could stop you from being a smarty pants. Oh, really? What is that? Well, I ran some tests at the lab yesterday, and it turns out if you want to stop a person from being a smarty pants, you just have to take off their pants. Ha! So you think taking off my pants will stop me from being smart? I don't know, but it's worth a try, he said as he starts to tickle her. But in the background, I hear the baby crying. Perfect timing, as always. Charles, don't get mad just because she stopped you from getting any. I know. I'm just amazed at her perfect timing. However, that's what I get for becoming a parent, I guess. You mean that's the joy of being a parent? Yes, dear, that's what I meant, he says as he kisses her and gets out of bed to check on the baby. Yes, Katie, I'm here. Daddy's here. And a good morning to you. Let's go see Mommy. There's my baby. How are you this morning? And I'll go warm up a bottle. Okay, we'll be here waiting. Charles made his way down the carpeted stairs to grab the milk from the fridge. At the bottom of the stairs was the front door, which had a triangle pattern that you could look out as kind of a peephole. To the left of the door was the living room, which consisted of a 60-inch flat screen that sat on a silver entertainment center, which was to the right of a brick fireplace that looked as if it was almost built into the wall. Anne was a fan of bridging the gap between the old and new, so a lot of the furniture and architecture has an old look, while others are more up to date. This was an age-old argument that had been going on between Anne and Charles since they bought their first place. Charles always wanted the newest stuff, the newest technology. He couldn't stand the fact that the iPhone 12 had been out a week already and he hadn't gotten it yet. Anne told him that his old phone worked just fine and that he should wait a few months to see if the iPhone 12 got recalled for any bugs or anything. To Charles, waiting a few months was the same as waiting a few years. It felt like an eternity to him. In front of the TV was a wide reclining sectional, the color of dark chocolate, that they had bought at Bob's Furniture. Anne, of course, thought it was way too big for the living room, but liked the color, and thought it had kind of an old look to it, so she caved to Charles' demands on that one. Behind the couch was a desk that looked like it had been made from an old oak tree. Anne's favorite pastime or hobby is to go to antique shops, especially ones owned by the Amish, because she knew they made the best furniture, and look for trinkets and things they could use around the house. Her favorite thing to shop for was furniture. One time at one of these shops, she had found this desk that she liked, but wasn't crazy about the surface of it. She decided to keep looking, but Charles noticed that look in her eye. Every once in a while, Anne gets this look in her eye like she wants something so bad that there's something about it she isn't crazy about. She then moves on, but is constantly looking back at the thing she wants, almost as if it's going to change into the thing that would make it perfect. The first few years Charles and Anne were married, Charles started to notice these looks, but never did anything about it. When they would get home, Anne would always chastise herself for not getting the item, even though she felt it was perfect. She would, of course, blame Charles for not making her buy it, even though he had no recollection of her ever mentioning it to him when they were there. After a couple of years of this, Charles decided to start watching her more when they stopped at these antique stores. In doing so, he started to notice the looks more frequently and started to recognize them as the undecided looks. So when she found this desk at the antique store and started to walk away, Charles dragged her back to the desk and would ask what was wrong with it. She didn't explain that the desk was perfect, but if the surface of it had a glazed top to it, that it would be perfect for a writing desk. So Charles went over to someone in charge and made a deal for the desk and asked if they could have the glazed surface custom made. He paid the man, and the desk was delivered in 2 weeks. To the left of the desk was a swinging door that led to the kitchen. In the kitchen was a white Frigidaire as you walked in and a microwave on the counter next to it. Charles looked inside the fridge for a new bottle but couldn't find it. "Honey, did you pump last night? I can't find a bottle." "Yes, put your glasses on, then you can see better." How does she know me so well? Thought Charles as he put on his glasses that were sitting next to the microwave and looked again. "Found it. Thanks, son." At the same time as Charles found the bottle and put it in the microwave to be heated, 4 men in FBI-looking suits stepped out of a black sedan with government plates and knocked hard on the front door. At the sound of the knock, Charles lifted his head in the direction of the sound with a puzzled look at his face. He looked back at the clock on the microwave to double-check the time. Who would be knocking at 6:30 in the morning? He left the milk in the microwave to cool off as he went to answer the door. Before he opened it, he peeked through the triangle slits in the door to see who it was, and his head shot back in shock and confusion. What would 4 guys in suits want with me at 6:30 in the morning? I hope I didn't do anything wrong. Very slowly and cautiously he opened the door. "Morning, gentlemen. Can I help you with something?" "Sir, are you Dr. Whittingham?" Yes, I am." "Dr. Charles Whittingham?" "Yes. Why? Did I do something wrong?" "Sir, I'm Special Agent Johnson from the Secret Service, as well as these other gentlemen, and we've been asked by the bequest of the President of the United States to escort you to speak with the head of the Department of Defense, Secretary Defense Ronald Ashby." And we're going to stop there. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my story.